Now let's move to the second part of the lesson, which is grammar. So before we dive into grammar, I want you to be back at the questions that we've got here in exercise B. Do you still remember them? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So what is the question? What you're going to do? So which of the questions that we've got there are examples of a subject question? And when I say subject question, that means there is no auxiliary verb. Number 2, a question that ends with a preposition. Number 3, a question that uses a negative auxiliary verb. So, question number 2, what happens to the word order in a question? What would you change when we add do you think after what? So I want to merge the word what do you think with the question what would you change? Please pause the video, take your time, and be back. We're going to check the answers together. So let's see. A question that ends with a subject question where there is no auxiliary verb. Let's be back to the questions and see. So the answer here is going to be question number, yes, question D. Very good. And why would you say this? Because after the question word we've got the verb immediately. We don't have any helping verb. So we go to the second question. A question that ends with a preposition. Where is it? Here we've got it. Yes. Question G. Who would you most like to say sorry to? And let's see the other question. What happens to the word or when we add the question? What do you think to what would you change? Let's have a look. It's in here. So it becomes indirect question, and there is no inversion of you and would. So we're gonna say, what do you think you would change? If you answer the same way, good job. Let's move to grammar. Are you with me? So let's start. So let's read the first question. Should we buy her a present? How long have you been waiting? How many children does your sister have? So to make a question with modal verb or modal verbs and with tenses where there is an auxiliary verb, be, have, etc., by inverting the subject and modal auxiliary verb. With the simple present and past, we add an auxiliary verb, do, does, or did, before the subject. So we say here, how many children does your sister have? So question number 2, why didn't you like the movie? Isn't this a beautiful place? So what do you see odd in here? We see negative questions. Yes, it happens a lot. So we often use negative questions to show surprise or when we expect somebody to agree with us. So here question number 2 here, why didn't you like the movie? So here we're showing just what? Surprise and why it's nice. And the second one, isn't this a beautiful place? So I want you to agree with me, so you say sure it is. So for question number 3, what are they talking about? Who does this bag belong to? So if a verb is followed by preposition, the preposition comes at the end of the question and not at the beginning. So here I have talk about, we have belong to, we had it at the end. So we often just use the question word and preposition. I'm thinking, what about? Question number 4, who lives in that house? How many people follow you on Twitter? So when who, what, which, etc. is the subject of the question, we don't use do, did, and for example, who wrote this, because they are the subject. We don't know who is the doer of the action. So let's move. We still have here some questions. Could you tell me what time the store next door opens? Do you know if or do you know whether Mark's coming to the meeting? What do you see here? We've got indirect questions. So we use indirect questions when we want to ask a question in a more polite way and begin with can, could you tell me, or when we introduce a question with, for example, do you know, do you remember? So guys, remember this, when we add these questions to be more polite, the question form changes to a statement form. Compare. What time does the store next door open? So this is a direct question, right? So now I want to make it indirect. I'm going to say, could you tell me what time the store next door opens? So what do you see here? So here, what time the store next door opens? You see the verb or the sentence here is like a statement order, not a question order, because we added, could you tell me? As we know that we have in questions, yes, no questions, and we have information questions. So we also don't use did and or do or does, any helping verbs in the next part of the question. So here we don't use do, did in the second part of the question. Do you know whether he lives? So here, where he lives. Here we don't say where does he live, because as I said, statement order. So you can use if or whether in the questions without a question word. As I told you, yes, no question, as we've got it here. So Mark's coming to the meeting. So the question as a direct question was, is Mark coming to the meeting? But when we added do you know, so we made it Mark's coming to the meeting. So do you know if, we have to add if because it is yes, no question. Do you know if Mark's coming to the meeting? Or I can have an alternative for if. I'm going to say, do you know whether Mark's coming to the meeting? So here I've got some expressions followed by the word order of indirect questions. So here I have them. I wonder why they didn't come. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what time it starts. I can't remember. I can't remember what I left my phone. I want to know what time you're coming home. Do you have any idea? Do you have any idea if James on vacation this week? Do you have any idea whether James on vacation this week? So that's it, guys. What you gonna do now? You're gonna do an activity and you're gonna have some time and then come back to me to check the answers together. So what you're gonna do? So here, question number 1, order the words to make question, and the second question, complete the questions with words in the parentheses. Remember to pause the video, then be back to check the answers together. I think you've got it. Let's see. Question A's answers. And this is question B's answer. Well done. Great job.